Today, I have the honor of welcoming William Henry, who's an author, investigative mythologist, art historian, and one of the leading voices in human ascension and the light body. For over 30 years, William has been decoding spiritual technologies hidden in ancient art, sacred texts, and temple traditions. You may know him from Ancient Aliens, where he serves as a consulting producer, on screen expert, and from his powerful Gaia series exploring ascension, transformation, and higher states of consciousness. William's gift is translating deep esoteric wisdom into clear, practical insights about who we are becoming as humans, especially as we move into a time of rapid spiritual awakening and one of my favorite topics, quantum level change. William has written nearly 20 books, leads transformational tours to Egypt and France and other sacred sites, is widely loved for his ability to weave history, symbolism, and multidimensional teachings into messages of hope and human evolution. So please join me in welcoming William Henry. Hi, William.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh my gosh, I just can't even. I just feel like I'm such one of your biggest fans. And I had the pleasure, and most people on my YouTube channel have heard me talk about my trip to Egypt with you last April. And when part of it was about the blue beings of light, really wanting me to there was a lot around sacred codes, light codes, and sound. And they had, even though for me, I hear their sound as whales and dolphins,
Mm.
um, they hadn't really talked about sound as being this kind of awakening tool. And I was actually vetting, I don't know that you know this, but I was vetting three people because if I was going to go to Egypt, who would I want to go with? And when I talked to you on the phone, you said to me, and you're going to be really excited to go to this particular temple because they have frozen sound
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, he's the one that I need to travel with. So, which temple was that you were talking about?
That was the Temple of Hathor, the goddess of love, joy, and music at Dendera. And you're wearing her symbol
Yes,
sistrum. That's a beautiful sistrum, by the way, Nancy. Yeah.
thank you.
And that's called the rattle of Hathor. It calls her in, and literally it's a musical instrument, and the temple itself is considered to be frozen music in stone. So at the
Wow.
facade of the temple, you have these six sistrums that are there that are considered to be embodying the frequency or the vibration of the Hathors.
Wow. Wow. Well, it was an incredible trip and definitely one that I plan to repeat. I couldn't take in all the information
Right.
that the knowledge, but I always say, because in the evenings you do like these 2 hour talks and slideshows. And it was just like I could just listen to you for hours. And Yvonne said the same thing the first time she heard you talk. She said, I could listen to him talk for hours. So we really connected over the blue light. And even though for most of us on YouTube are making a connection with the star beings and the blue light, you've been talking about this for almost 30 years. This is not new information for you.
No, I mean, it's something that, especially the blue light, that just triggered my imagination early on. I mean, in southern France, they speak of these mysterious blue apples, and I think that that's what got me started following the kind of the blue light path. There's no such thing as a blue apple until you imagine it. Then
Yeah.
you can begin to create it. And I thought that was fascinating. And then I just started paying attention to the use of the color blue as a frequency in artwork and wondering why. I mean, so many people look at sacred art, sacred paintings, and don't really think about that there's a whole language that's encoded within those paintings.
Right.
The artist is trying to convey an idea. We'll talk in a moment about why does the Mother Mary wear a blue cloak? Uh,
Mhm.
why not a green one or a red one like Mary Magdalene does? There's a reason for it, and we'll explore that.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing, just I want to let you all know, I was sharing with William off camera that the blue celestial beings of light that I've been communicating with have really been talking about these times as a purging time
Mm.
to clear the body, purge of energy blocks and just old dense energies and old patterns to make room to bring more light into the body. And I thought that was just more of the spiritual aspect of coming in the body. But then they've gone into light codes and DNA activations and all of those things. So when I was preparing for the talk and introducing William, this is another thing. The light body is not something that's new for you.
No, it's actually not. I go back over 20 years in my study of the light body. It happened just kind of by accident. I had been studying Stargate and wormhole imagery, especially in Egypt, and loved all these stories about the gods and or the divine beings, the angelic realm, being able to traverse these portals or gateways. And what I soon learned was that our physical flesh and blood body isn't going through those portals or gateways. There is a transformation or a transfiguration, is the word that they use, of our body preparatory to going through that gateway. And that's what I see us being involved in now, ever since 2012, really, when we started to experience this alignment with the center of the Milky Way galaxy and this profound light began to
Mhm.
be emitted from the galactic center. We have been in this process of transformation. I mean, a lot of people used to think, oh, well, the Maya said that the world was going to end on December 21st, 2012. It didn't, but it did. And a new chapter opened
Mm.
up. And that's what we're experiencing now as we enter, of course, into the age of Aquarius also, which is symbolized by the water bearer, but the water is really gnosis or frequency, wisdom, vibration. And we're in that gateway now, and our body is seeking a higher frequency or a greater resonance with the cosmos.
Beautiful. Well, I think we could go on forever because there were two beings I especially, other than the Hathors, I especially connected with in Egypt, and that was Nun, Nune,
Mhm.
who is like the primordial mother. So she comes
Right.
in as this older woman,
Mhm.
and then Sobek,
Mm.
which is it a crocodile god or the? But
Right.
it's also about the earthly frequencies and
Mhm.
the primordial sounds of the earth. And those two have been coming through for me the past couple of weeks, just as we were making this connection to talk together. So might rattle your cage a little bit about those two after your talk. But I just want to let everybody know that William has put together a slideshow, a special presentation for us. So I know you're going to enjoy it. And so let's get started. So if you could click the share button on your screen.
Sure. Let's do this. We'll share that. And okay. Are you seeing my logo?
I can see your logo and we can hear you loud and clear. So
Hey,
take it away.
thank you, Nancy, very much. So yeah, this just, by the way, is my Star Walker logo. It features this transformed or resurrected man on the boat of eternity. He's got his staff of ascension and drawing down the power of the stars. And this is the focal point of a lot of what I teach. How can we get on this boat of millions of years, elevate our consciousness, get those bliss codes of the universe, and draw down the power of the stars? So, regarding the blue light, I have just a kind of a whole sort of a smattering of images here that I just wanted to present because it's so fascinating the way this light comes up, and it almost always has to do with ascension. What we're looking at here is the dome of Saint Sophia in Thessaloniki in Greece. And it portrays a scene out of the book of Acts where Jesus is ascending in a cloud. And when you look at this image, you don't necessarily see a cloud. You see a blue orb, or an orb filled with blue light that is being lifted up by angels. And esoterically, what this orb represents is the teachings connected to the inner worlds. And what that tells us right off the bat is that the blue light itself could well be the link into that eternal internal kingdom. And what you notice here is that Jesus is in this orb of light in the cloud. He's sitting on an ark, and you see the blue light at the outer edge of the orb. That represents not only the internal realm, but also the unknowable realm. He's shown here emerging from the light that's at the core of the concentric rings. And as he emerges, the light starts to get darker and darker blue, representing that unknowable realm. You mentioned frequency a moment ago, Nancy, and that's something else that I see in this imagery is that when I see concentric rings, I'm thinking not only a portal or a gateway, I'm thinking sound waves or vibration. He's in this vibrational gateway that he is traveling through. And what we're asked to do when we're looking at images like this is connect our imagination to this experience, to tune into the frequency. What would it be like to be bathed in this bright white light at the core? What would it be like to connect with that unknowable blue light? The Mother Mary is, of course, present in these scenes, and we're going to be talking quite a bit about Mary and her ascension and her connection with the color blue. And we look at these images and think, why is it that they keep showing the Mother of the World, as we see here in Nicholas Roerich's painting, in this blue motif? What is the meaning of that blue? It's not the highest frequency color. It matches the beautiful blue of our atmosphere. In fact, the painter Nicholas Roerich, they said, was trying to duplicate this blue. And when the Russian cosmonauts first went into space in the 1950s and they first saw our planet from Earth's orbit, they said, wow, there's that blue. There's that blue light that Nicholas Roerich was trying to capture. It's such an extraordinary color. And in my view, the reason for the blue that the Mother Mary wears, the Mother of the World, is that it has to do with the Ark of the Covenant, because the Ark of the Covenant was this golden device. It was a conduit between the earthly and the heavenly realm, and they spread a blue cloth on it. And so in Christian tradition, they started portraying the Mother Mary wearing this blue light. While it's portrayed as a cloth, it's actually considered to be a light that she's emitting as a connection with her being the new Ark of the Covenant. She is the new vessel for the Christ or the Messiah, and she replaces the old Ark of the Covenant in the Old Testament. And they again convey her divine presence or her connection to the divine realm by her wearing this blue cloak. Blue, of course, is the color of heaven. It's the color of humility. It's the color of the highest crystalline light. It's the color of the sapphire throne in Ezekiel's vision in the Old Testament. And it's the color of Sophia. So throughout time, artists have wrapped the Mother Mary in this extraordinary blue. And we're to understand all of this, that she's actually enfolded within this crystalline light. And I love what this artist Filippo Lippi did here, showing her wrapped in that blue. But look at the halo that he's got on the baby Jesus and also on the Mother Mary. He's clearly indicating that she's in a higher state of consciousness as she's wrapped in this blue cloak. Another favorite here where we get Mary in the blue cloak with her star on her shoulder. This is her star cloak. This is a symbol of the light body itself made manifest. The light body, of course, is the framework upon which our physical flesh and blood body hangs. It's something that is within us, the light body is. It's not something we go get. It's something that we already are. It's hidden within us. It's covered by false perceptions and identification with the physical flesh and blood body. But once we start to contemplate and meditate and think about the light body, as we see in this image here, then we begin to identify with it. And more we begin to see this aspect of ourselves. I love this image of Francis of Assisi, who had a profound devotion to the Virgin Mary. He viewed her as the founder of the Franciscan order. She was called Stella Mari, the star of the sea. She is a star walker, Mary is. She comes from the heavenly realms. She manifested on the earth plane, gave birth to Jesus, and then ultimately ascended herself. And for the Franciscans, wrapping Mary in a blue cloak had exactly the same meaning we talked about a moment ago. It represented the sky and the heavens, where she came from. It represented her virtue of purity. It represented her contemplative gaze. And they also then referred to her as in what they refer to as the blue star language to signify interior illumination. So once again, the Franciscans are thinking of this blue cloak as a connection to the light body. It represents illumination coming from within her, which is very interesting because then when we come over into the Mexican tradition of Our Lady of Guadalupe, when she appeared in 1571, she's wearing her blue star cloak and she's radiating light. And the light is portrayed as golden like the sun, but actually it's probably this blue light that we keep referring to here. Her star cloak is emanating this visible light spectrum. And something very fascinating happens. It's a real key, in my view, to more fully understanding the blue light, especially as it's connected with the Mother Mary. And that is that early Christianity spread out into the Mediterranean world. It spread out to England and to France, and it also went to China and Asia on the Silk Road. And with early Christianity, we're talking 4th to 6th century or so, they carried images of the Virgin Mary or the Mother Mary carrying the Christ child with her. These images then became superimposed over Quan Yin, the Buddhist goddess of compassion, who's portrayed identically to the Virgin Mary carrying a child. And in fact, in Japan, she's called Kanan, meaning holy Maria, Holy Maria. And this is how then Christianity emerged in the Asian tradition and influenced the art of China and also Japan and other Asian countries. So here we see Mary in the foreground holding a lotus, holding the baby Jesus. And in the background, we see Quan Yin also holding a lotus, holding a child. They're interchangeable images. They're meant, what we're meant to do is understand that Quan Yin and Mary are effectively interchangeable. And it is believed, by the way, that the Mother Mary, as well as Mary Magdalene, traveled the Silk Road into China and Asia. And wherever they went, they're always wearing their blue cloak. This is their symbol. And we're to understand the hidden symbolism of that cloak. It represents this divine illumination coming from within them. You can think of them as blue beings, if you like. And so here what we're looking at on the left is the Mother Mary with Jesus on her lap. On the right, Kuan Yin wearing her blue cloak with a baby child beside her. They're conveying the same idea. These are illuminated priestesses, high priestesses that we're dealing with. And then something really powerful happens in the Buddhist tradition. They start speaking of something they refer to as the most precious jewel or the blue pearl. And in the Buddhist tradition, the Divine Mother, Kuan Yin, again, influenced by the Mother Mary tradition, holds the blue pearl, which symbolizes the soul of all of us. Each of us in this tradition has this innermost aspect of ourself, our soul, that is symbolized as this blue pearl that emits this sacred blue light. And the idea is that as we connect with this blue light, we're connecting with our soul. As we connect with our soul, we then also simultaneously connect with this blue light within us. So by following this blue pearl path, we're going to learn something very, very important about this light. And it was actually Swami Muktananda, a great Indian saint and teacher who came to America and taught the Siddha yoga practices and meditation techniques in the US. And he is the one that gave a detailed description of the significance of and his own personal experiences of the blue pearl, the blue light, and the blue beings that emerge from within the blue pearl or the blue light. Here we're obviously looking at Jesus enfolded within the blue light, and I'm just using this as a connection point to what Swami Muktananda is teaching. According to Muktananda, here are the key teachings of the blue pearl. Inner divinity. The blue pearl represents the soul or the divine essence within, a manifestation of the divine presence that reminds individuals of their inherent connection to the source of all creation. And I've accompanied this with an image of a golden dragon from a kimono, a silk kimono, guarding the blue pearl. This is because in the Eastern tradition, this blue light, this blue pearl is regarded as the treasure of treasures. It's the innermost secret within all of us, and it is ultimately that treasure that's guarded by all the dragons of all sacred myth and tradition. And the idea then develops that as we contemplate, meditate, and think of in our meditation this blue pearl, we begin to experience within ourselves a tiny blue light or a beautiful blue light either within us or surrounding us, or we may even see it around other individuals in our experience. And this can occur during deep states of meditation. And once again, it can happen, it can be an interior vision or an exterior vision. And according to the Blue Pearl teaching, again, mostly advocated by Swami Muktananda, despite its appearance as a tiny light, often compared to the size of a sesame seed, Muktananda taught that the blue pearl contains the entire universe. This is fractal theory that we're talking about, that enfolded within our light body is the light body of our creator. It's as above, so below, as within, so without is this realization. And as we begin to realize that within us are the codes of the entire universe or the light of the entire universe, it now gives us a glimpse into our potential beyond our physical flesh and blood body, beyond the illusion of this body. We recognize that our soul is in fact that divine essence within us, the blue pearl, the blue light that manifests this physical body. It's eternal and it's always connected with our creator. And it's the same light that expands infinitely. That light that's within us expands infinitely within the universe. And that's such a profound concept because it points to the eternal nature of our soul and once again our interconnectedness with the universe. So as we look at this, we're realizing that in the Eastern tradition in particular, they highly revered this blue pearl, this blue seed, this blue light within us, and viewed it as a closely guarded aspect of the soul. And then all of us then have the ability to connect with it. And as we do so, then we connect with the universe itself. Master Kok Cho teaches that by meditating on the blue pearl, even if it's just an image, in this case of Jesus rising in this blue cloud, one can come in contact with our higher soul and will have access to inner worlds and inner universes with great beings and teachers from whom one can receive priceless teachings and blessings. So this is the value here of entering into this blue light or blue pearl path, is that ultimately can lead us into those inner realms where we can have a face-to-face encounter with these blue people, with these blue beings who then have the codes of awakening our light body from within, connecting us with the universe. So meditating on the blue pearl or images, for example, here of Jesus again enfolded within the blue pearl, gives you access to your higher soul. At the same time, the higher soul can contact the incarnated soul through the blue pearl. And when this happens, you see a blue person. Muktananda, again, writes of the blue pearl in hauntingly similar terms to what we see in these images of Jesus. And he says that connection with it is one of the most significant of all spiritual experiences one can have. And he refers to the blue light as the divine light of consciousness and an aspect of the soul, and it dwells within everyone. So at this very moment, you and I are connecting with the most divine aspect of ourselves. And this is what is so incredible to me. And actually, this was what started me on my path of following this blue light was that Muktananda described how at one point he experienced this blue pearl expand until it became the size of a human being. And he saw a magnificent being of shimmering blue light. And the blue being gave him some advice and a blessing, and then reduced in size to the size of the blue pearl and entered into Muktananda. I mean, this is a story that interfaces with other portal, Stargate, wormhole stories that I've come across where people will experience a tiny pinpoint of light, often blue, that expands into this portal that one can step into and then travel to distant parts of the cosmos through a wormhole. I mean, this sounds completely fantastical, but it is what is described in various traditions, often involving Jesus, often involving the Buddha, often involving these points of blue light that expand and take us into these higher realms. And that is what is happening in this scene here. And by the way, this is a scene by Hildegard of Bingen, the famous German mystic who I believe had the blue light or the blue pearl experience and actually encountered this man in sapphire blue, who she identified, of course, as Jesus. So this is an open eye meditation. I mean, Jesus is right now emerging from that blue pearl, transmitting his sacred vibration to us through the image as an avatar. He has the ability to do that, and tuning us to the frequency of this blue sapphire light, which represents, again, the light of the soul and our connection to the higher realms. So, taking this a step forward, this helps us to explain why in Christian ascension art, the cloud, as it's referred to, that Jesus ascends upon, is this blue orb. It must connect with what Muktananda was describing. It must connect with this whole idea of the blue light being the conduit to the higher frequency realm of the soul. And as we look at these images, we're going outward into space, but we're also going inward into the mind or inward into the soul. This here is one of the earliest ascension images of Jesus. It's from the 4th century. It's Egyptian. We see him sitting on his throne with his feet on a footstool. He's wearing a golden, glowing robe. And we see that blue orb behind him, indicating that this is a portal or a gateway that he is actually traveling through. And it's interesting how precisely it corresponds to what we know of as the mouth of a wormhole. You have the transition point, you have the vortex, you have the throat of the wormhole, and it's very clearly indicated in this artwork. It's a fascinating correspondence. It could be just a synchronicity, or it could be that they had some sense about conveying this idea of the concentric rings being a portal or gateway in Christian art. Here is a 6th century Syrian image where, once again, it's an ascension image. Mary's wearing her purple or blue robe. Jesus is ascending in the blue light. And all later ascension images are based on these early 4th and 6th century versions where they are perceiving this blue light around Jesus as he is ascending into the heavenly realms. 6th century, here we are at St. Catherine's Monastery in Mount Sinai. We see Jesus transfiguring into light within this blue orb, this blue egg, maybe even the sesame seed idea that we talked about a moment ago is represented here, where this light is emerging from within him and it's blue. And now we know why. It's because of this tradition of the blue light indicating this conduit or portal that emanates from within us. This is a scene of the descent into limbo, where Jesus goes into the Sheol or the hell realms to retrieve the just or righteous souls of all those who lived in the time of the Old Testament times. And invariably, he is portrayed with this blue light around his body. And again, the symbolic meaning of this is evident. It's a portal. The blue light's a portal. It's a gateway between the human and divine realms. It represents the seed idea, the holographic code of the light body within. It represents our identity. It's our true nature. It's who we actually are as beings. It represents union. It's the point where the individual and the universal realms converge. It's like we were talking a moment ago, Nancy. You have to enter into that higher frequency in order to activate the light body and connect with the divine realm. And that's what's being portrayed here. And then finally, once again, it represents the portal through which our consciousness exits the body at death and returns at rebirth. This is a direct parallel to the Star Walker concept, where Jesus is being portrayed here as the walker between worlds. He's tapped that frequency within, tapped that universal consciousness, and now he traverses the worlds. And so, according to this teaching, the blue pearl, that's our star seed of divine consciousness. It's a tiny point of radiance that's within us, that's awaiting activation. And as we connect with this blue light through the images, through our meditation, we're literally activating this divine blue light within us. It's being fed by these images at this very moment. And always what I pay attention to is the remarkable Stargate imagery that accompanies this. I mean, this is a scene. This is one of the domes inside of St. Mark's in Venice, Italy. It's built around AD 1000. You see Mary at the very base of it. And in the center, you see Jesus in a blue orb filled with stars. I mean, if you read this as a cartoon, this is a star gate or a portal that Jesus is traveling through. And it's from images like this that I started to develop this idea of Jesus as this Stargate traveling time traveler. Look at these images here of the ascension of Mary. We see Mary asleep or perhaps dead on this bier. She's at the very bottom of the icon. There's a great debate in Catholicism about when Mary ascended. Was she asleep and dreaming, or was she already deceased when Jesus came through this blue light, through this blue portal to collect her soul, which is what he's portrayed holding in his hands here. And so when we come into the detail here, we see Mary on the bier, asleep and dreaming, or perhaps deceased. Personally, I think she's probably asleep and dreaming because, as in a scene, they were practitioners of lucid dreaming, and they believed they could go into these deep lucid dream states and connect with the higher realm. So here she is asleep and dreaming, and here's Jesus now stepping through our blue light, stepping through this portal, surrounded by angels coming to collect the soul of Mary. And now, as the scene unfolds, we see her in the higher heavenly realms in a blue orb. Why? Well, we just explained why. We explained that this blue orb that she's riding in is the blue pearl that's within all of us. It is awaiting activation. And it's clear in my mind that this is what this esoteric version of Christianity is trying to convey to us, that this light is within us. It's the conduit, and it ultimately is our entranceway into the higher frequency realms. As we look at this image here, we see Mary again sitting on the same throne with her feet on a footstool that we saw in the image of Jesus a moment ago. We see the concentric rings of blue light. And we also notice that she's holding a red string or sash in her hand. That's called her girdle. And this is also another method of conveyance of the frequency or vibration of ascension. It goes all the way back to ancient Egypt, where Isis and Nephthys and all the queens of resurrection, Nefertari, Nefertiti, all wore this identical red sash that Mary holds in her hands and is actually, as we go back here, transmitting to the Apostle Thomas in this case. It's one of the symbols of the divine feminine that we can use to track the ascension mysteries from Egypt into Christianity. But our focus again is on this mysterious blue light that we see portrayed in these images. And the light is this blue light is always portrayed as a portal, as an ascension vehicle, as a gateway, as a conduit. And once again, here we see Mary enfolded within that blue light with that same red girdle or red sash in her hand, offering it to the Apostle Thomas as a method of transferring the vibration or the frequency of the ascension bubble that Mary is ascending in. Look at this one from Russia. Novgorod. It's so powerful, where once again, we see the identical imagery of Mary either asleep and dreaming or dead, deceased. Jesus emerges through the blue light, through the blue portal, the wormhole, if you will, to claim her soul, to take her into the heavenly realms. And as Mary rises, once again, she's in that same blue orb. So this is a profound teaching, a profound connection to the blue light mysteries that we're talking about here. It ties in so much about Christian imagery and our understanding of the permeability of our cosmos, the intimate connection between the earthly and the celestial or the divine realm, and the possibility that all of us have for having this incredible ascension experience that Jesus is having. I mean, that is a very important part of this message, is that this blue light experience, this blue orb of light that is manifested from within Mary, is not something that's unique to these divine or semi-divine beings. They're telling us this story because we all have the capability of ascending in this blue light, connecting with it, activating our light body, and making our own ascension as well. These are literally our, I think of them as ascension simulation paintings. As we contemplate, meditate, and reflect on this imagery, a part of ourself is recognizing, oh, okay, this is the path that I'm going to have myself. I'm going to wake up in a dream, and I'm going to have Jesus emerge from through a blue portal of light, perhaps, or it might even be the Mother Mary, who again here is enfolded within the blue light as well, that manifests in our consciousness and begins the process of teaching us how we too can follow this path. And that gives me a lot of cause uh, for just realizing that I don't have to figure this out on my own. It gives me comfort to know that this path has been well established for centuries. And the opening doorway to it, the gateway to it, is very clearly the blue light and the understanding of the blue pearl within us. Because once again, in all of these paintings, while it looks as if we're looking at something outside of Mary, it's probably actually something that has emanated from within her. It's a part of her being that she is connected with and allowed to kind of emerge. And this is the path once again that we're all on. We're looking at this imagery. We're realizing that we have this divine aspect of our within ourselves, and that we too have the capability to go into deep meditative states or higher states of consciousness and connect with these beings and literally have this experience ourselves. So, as we come now to the end of my presentation, we see once again Jesus manifesting in the blue light, the portal, the gateway, taking Mary's soul into the divine realms. And I hope that what I've been able to show you here in this presentation is the connection to something that perhaps some of the audience has been experiencing, maybe in a dream state, maybe in a meditation state. And now we have the ability to go further and understand that our body itself is the conduit. Our body is the manifestation of this blue pearl or this seed within us, and packed within us is everything that we need to know about our ascension. I wanted to just finish the presentation with what I consider one of the most mind-blowing aspects of this blue light. It comes from Terence McKenna. He wrote a book called True Hallucinations, where he was telling about his research adventures with cannabis and drinking the UC God potion, ayahuasca, the vine of the soul, the ladder to the Milky Way. It's a natural substance that awakens our consciousness, enables us to connect with portals and gateways into other realms, and even to experience something like what Mary is experiencing here. And he tells us something so profound that I had to include it. That very often when people drink the ayahuasca brew, they go through a purging process. They're literally vomiting. They're purging uh, toxicity or negativity within their body and awakening the light body. This is the ultimate purpose of it. And what Terence McKenna said is that a violet or blue fluid sometimes can be seen emanating from the physical flesh and blood body. It forms on the surface of the skin like sweat. And he goes on to say that he believed that ayahuasca was a method of communicating with what he referred to as hyperspace, or literally even life on other planets. And again, it manifests as this blue or violet substance that manifests on our skin. And when I read that, I thought, well, wait a minute, that's so incredible, because does this help also to explain why we see Mary wearing the purple or the blue robe? And the same thing with Jesus. Is it possible that literally this blue pearl within us can manifest what Terence McKenna argued was literally space time itself? That literally coming from within us, manifesting as this blue light or this blue robe, is space-time itself. And maybe that explains why then they can take one of these blue bubbles and manifest it into this orb of light that they can then travel the cosmos through. It sounds so sci-fi, but it's well documented in this artwork that we've just looked at, as well as the spiritual tradition that accompanies it. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and return now to our conversation. And here we are. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, very much.
Wow. Wow. I have 4 pages of questions, and you answered them all.
Oh, wow. Okay. How about that?
And so, the only one that you didn't answer that I'd like to know about is your personal account inside the Great Pyramid of the King's Chamber
Hmm.
that describes you being met by 2 blue eyes of bliss in some type of initiation moment. So, when we went in with you, I remember standing just against the wall, like I couldn't move off the wall, and there I saw blue beings of light in there. And they just kept telling me, just stay where you are, stay where you are, stay where you are. So when I read that account about yours, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah, that was instrumental, really pivotal. I first went to Egypt in 2004, 2003, 2004. And I really didn't know what I was doing there, to be honest with you. I mean, I'd been invited as a guest speaker on a tour. I had an interest in Egypt, but I just wasn't quite prepared. As you know, when you go to Egypt, it can be quite overwhelming. Your first time
Mhm.
there, you're trying to just figure out what is going on here, right?
Yeah, multisensory, I call it.
Multi-sensory, yeah. And so we get into the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid, and again, I'm not quite sure what to do. So I just think, well, okay, I'm here in the center of the land masses of the planet. I'm in the most powerful building, temple construction ever made on Earth. And I'm in the King's Chamber, which I know is a resonance chamber. It's made of entirely of massive blocks of red granite. So I just slid my back up against the wall, closed my eyes, and I just started sending out love to my loved ones and family, friends everywhere around the world. And all of a sudden, as you mentioned, there's this blue eye that manifests out of nowhere. In fact, there were two of them, and they were just kind of hovering in my consciousness and beaming bliss at me. I couldn't explain it any other way. They were like smiling blue eyes of bliss.
Mm.
And I knew at that moment that I was going to be spending perhaps the rest of my life trying to figure out what exactly had just happened at that moment. We leave the pyramid. I ask the group that I'm with, hey, did everybody see that blue eye of bliss in the king's chamber? Of course, no one had, and no one knew what it was. And then we went down to Luxor, and we're in a museum there, and I find this little 2-inch tall golden pyramid with the blue eye of Horus, exactly
Oh,
the
wow.
location of the king's chamber. I'm like, that's it. That's what I saw. And I realized at that moment that the blue eye of Horus represented what I would think of as the consciousness of the pyramid itself. And it wasn't long after that. I had had an interest in stargates and wormholes and that whole idea. And so I'm researching this blue eye of bliss, and I come upon a physics paper that proposes that we likely won't travel the cosmos in our physical flesh and blood bodies. In other words, we're not going to build generation starships and go flying out thousands of light years into space. What would actually happen, they propose, is that a, a, a very advanced civilization seeking other conscious worlds would send out probes. And this physicist envisioned these probes as beams of light that would
Wow.
go into a world seeking out higher consciousness. And when it finds an example of higher consciousness, perhaps, this paper proposed that the light could then turn into an orb of light, through an orb of blue light specifically, through which a visitor could pass coming from the home world that sends out the probe. They're proposing that this blue light would effectively become a wormhole, like we described, and a being from that world could step through that orb, or a being on the receiving end of that light could step into that orb of light and be transported back to the point of origin.
Wow.
I was just
Wow.
blown away. And that just sent me on a whole path of, again, collecting this ascension imagery of Jesus in the blue orb and asking, okay, are we talking, what if we are talking about the same thing here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And what
Yeah.
if something like that is within all of us? And that's the concept
Yes.
here.
And that's what I want to bring up, because when the beings first came and they said there would be three main surges, and the purpose of the surge was, imagine the earth is just this black onyx glass of pain. We'll just call it pain or dense energy.
Mhm.
And that the first piercing would come through a pyramid in Xi'an, China. And when it went straight through, it was almost like it just cracked. It just kind of started that first crack. That was in 219. And 221, it came through the pyramid outside of Mexico City.
Mm.
Again, cracked more, but this time into a powder that was able to dissolve. And then the third one that came through is, I think, close to where you live, but it is the Hopi, the three mesas, and it came
Oh.
through at three different times. And I was always curious why it didn't come through um, the Giza pyramid in Egypt. And the information that I got was that pyramid is always already activating a lot of blue light. And so it's very active. But here's my thing about this blue light, and I'm going to ask you your perspective about the light body, because my sense about things, my intuitive sense about things, well, first of all, all of humanity is awakening to their intuition. So this blue light is really helping us to kind of ascend within our own inner authority. But the other thing is that the whether it's prophetic vision, whether it's knowing what's going to happen, whether it's clarity, whatever the path, that it's coming through the people now, like I call it boots on the ground people. All right. Now, the light body. So I heard you say, because I went and listened to one of your Gaia thing, that it's like we can't take our physical body through the portal, but we can if it's a light body. So how would you define a light body?
The light body is the energetic template that our physical flesh and blood body is created from. The idea is that we all have this divine spark called the blue pearl within us. It's considered the seat of the soul. And it's this part of ourself that manifests the physical flesh and blood body as a vehicle for incarnation, for operating on the earth plane. And that at such time that the soul seeks to attain its ascension, it also has then the ability to dissolve the physical flesh and blood body into its primordial essence. They refer to this as the light body or sometimes the rainbow light body. And
Hmm.
the connection here is made in Buddhism. I've got some really powerful Buddhist tankas that portray the rainbow light body guru Padmasambhava, for example, manifesting the rainbow light body. And this one in particular is so powerful because it shows the blue pearl right here,
Mm.
pineal gland. And what the Buddhists teach is that as you meditate on that blue pearl in the pineal gland, this is how you then begin to activate the light body. And so that's the direct correspondence between the two. And
Yeah.
the idea is that, as I mentioned, this is something that's already within us. The light body
Yeah.
isn't something that we go get, it's something that we make or identify within ourselves. And when I use the
Hmm.
term make, I like to use it in the way that the police use the term. If they pull me over and make my car, they didn't manufacture my car, they identified it. Okay.
Hmm.
And so
I
it's the
like that.
same
Yeah.
with the light body. It's not something that we manufacture, it's something that we identify within ourself. And one way that we do this, at least in the Buddhist tradition, is through contemplation of sacred images of the light body. It
Hmm.
literally begins this process of activating it. And different traditions portray it slightly differently. It can be rainbow colored, it can be in Christian art, you'll very often see Jesus sitting on a rainbow in his resurrection body. That's symbolic of the light body, or sometimes he's enfolded within bright white, or as we saw here, blue light as well. It all
Yeah.
ultimately represents the same concept.
Yeah. Well, it's been the blue light has really been coming in waves. There's a talking about bliss. The information that I keep getting is that as we head into December, that there is a big wave of bliss that's coming through, and that there definitely is some opening, thinning of the veil for it to come through. But astrologically, it's just ripe for this type of potential. And I don't know what you think about Three Eye Atlas, and you don't even have to talk about it if you don't want to, but I have this sense that it's been collecting kind of frequencies from billions of light years away, and that, in that stardust or comet dust or whatever we want to call it, is kind of seeding the earth of consciousness. But I do have this sense there's this big kind of combination between that and the solstice, but there's this wave of bliss that's coming, and I'm already starting to feel it.
Uh, yeah. No, it's going to be a very special month of December, and it's going to set us up beautifully for going into 2026 with a sense of not just newness, but even increased purpose. Really,
Yes.
that's what I'm most
Yeah.
excited about.
Yeah. So if there's anything that you wanted to add that we didn't cover here, anything that you would like to say to everyone?
No, just thank you so much though, Nancy, for bringing us together. It's been a pleasure to share some of these slides with you. There's more, of course, behind this. It was just meant to be a little quick 15, 20-minute introduction
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
And
I do definitely hope that well, I know that we will get together again as new things that have been hidden are being revealed.
mhm.
But I'm a part of your Skywalker Cafe.
Star Walker,
You
yeah.
Starwalker, you have this enormous body of work in there. So tell us a little bit about that, and because it's a private membership, right? And I will include the link is here below when this is released. But you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the Star Walker concept is based on the idea that we're all essentially interdimensional beings. We're all walkers between worlds, and recognizing that we didn't come from here. We're temporarily visiting this place, and the idea is that at some point we have our awakening experience and we recognize, hey, I want to be part of something bigger. I want to maybe make contact with otherworldly beings, whether through meditation, whether through visualization. Many people have been using hallucinogens now
Mhm.
to make
Mhm.
contact with otherworldly beings and to become part of a greater community of these Star Walkers. And
Beautiful.
that's why I
Yeah.
started the Star Walker Cafe, was to begin to have these conversations. We hear
Communities.
community,
Yeah.
yeah. We hear
Yeah.
so much now about disclosure. Congressman Luna
Yeah.
speaking about interdimensional beings in the halls of Congress.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, we're getting ready to turn a page and enter into an era that I don't even
Yeah.
think we're prepared for it. It's going to be so incredible. And
Yeah.
so I've put together the Star Walker Cafe as a connection point, a nexus where people who are interested in otherworldly civilizations or ascension or light body, all of these concepts that so beautifully come together around the idea of ascension and light beings, have an
Yeah.
ability to network and talk about it, as well as
Beautiful.
a place where I can offer my teachings about it as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I just want to let everybody know that he does live teachings all the time, and he's open to topics that you'd like to hear about. They're always engaging, and you can chat live, while he's doing that. Am I off saying that correctly? I mean,
Yes,
that's what I remember when I'm watching. So
right.
I appreciate that. Before we close up, I just want to let you all know that I am doing my annual winter solstice event. I'll have the link in below. It's my 25th year of offering this. And this particular December is going to be like no other. So I hope that you can join me on that as well. But I would love and to read your comments in the comments section, and any comments that you want to leave for William. I know that he's going to be reading them also. But thank you again so much.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Thank you
It's
so much.
just
And thank you,
wonderful.
everybody, for being part of this today.
Awesome.